Obviously, it's an unloaded gun. Safe spaces, safe directions, duh. What's up, my freedom fam? It is I, your favorite libertarian. Today we have an interesting video. This is something that I've been kind of looking at a little bit since it came out, and that is the TLR-1 HLX from Streamlight. I have many questions, and I'm sure you do as well. Today we're going to try to answer those questions in this video, starting with, but not limited to, what comes in the box? The differences between the HLX and the HL. Beam comparisons. Holster compatibility. And probably most importantly, is the TLR-1 HLX worth the larger price tag? But before we get to all that, if you guys have been watching the channel or following the channel or subscribed for any length of time, you know that we have a couple housekeeping items. One is that I take prayer requests. So if you guys have any of those, don't hesitate to put them in the comment section below. I love praying for you guys. Don't forget, you can do that through our Discord, through our Instagram, the comment section of this video. If you go to our website, it'll have all of the different social links there if you want to use them, which is yourfavoritelibertarian.com. And coincidentally, that is also where you can help support the channel, because I'm sure YouTube is going to demonetize this video regardless of how many disclaimers and disclosures we have. That's where you can help support us. Use the links, use the discount code, save money, get cool stuff. It's a win-win. I really appreciate it if you guys can do that. But if you want a free way to help, you can subscribe, you can share this video with someone, and you can like it so that YouTube knows that you like this kind of stuff. Also, shout out to my homies at Southpaw Draw. If you want to pick up anything left-handed or otherwise, you might want to go to our website and click on their link from there. Yeah. And lastly, as far as disclaimers and disclosures go, I was sent this light from Streamlight for this video, for a review, not a positive review, if that makes sense. My opinion is not bought because it is not for sale. I'm also a libertarian, so I just say whatever I want anyway. Either way though, just know that in this video, there will be pros and, dare I say, cons about this light. Aghast! But they were nice enough to send this over to us, so thanks, Streamlight. Now with no further ado, let's get on to the actual video. And now it's time for everyone's favorite portion of the video, what's in the box. This is the portion of the video where I show you what's in the box. Of course, we have the owner's manual right here, which we'll get into a little bit later. We have two USB-C batteries that are rechargeable either by this port or you can just put them on a charger. These are the SLB9 batteries from Streamlight, but are similar to and are interchangeable with the CR123A batteries. So this is a dual fuel flashlight, which is cool, but you'll get the best output with these batteries. You also have a tool to make any adjustments that you need or add or subtract any of the accessories. You have a 1913-1 rail already attached to your flashlight, and then you have a 1913-2 if you need to fit a different slot. You also have one for Glock and one for the 92, Beretta 92 in case you're wondering. You have a charger that will charge both batteries at the same time with the USB-C to USB. You get two sets of switches for all your switching needs. And then of course you have the flashlight itself. If you think the movies were way better than the books, you are gonna love this user's manual. Tons of pictures, so it'll be very easy, even if you don't wanna read, to figure out how to remove and install your rail adapters, switch out your switches if you wanna do that, learn anything you want about the batteries, how to install them, how to remove them, how long they take to charge, how they charge. Now, the next page of this manual is where the 10-tap programming comes into play. This is showing you how to work the strobe mode and how to enable or disable it. And I'll show you that and a couple other things in this manual right now. We have a button right here, and we have a lever on this side. The lever will not move unless this button is depressed. So let's make it very depressing and press it in. Turn this lever and open it. It's as simple as that, folks. A minus pictograph and a plus pictograph to let you know which way the batteries go in. And boop, our battery's in. Close it and then pull this lever back. Hear that click. And now we have successfully installed our batteries. Congratulations to us. These ones you can either push in or you can push down. Constant on, you're just gonna tap it. Same on the other side. If you want momentary, you hold it and then let go when you want it to turn off. So very nice switches, very tactile and feel, very easy to use. and a million times better than the Surefire switches for their pistol lights, which I despise. You can do the 10 tap, I'm doing this twice so it's 10 tap, programming from Streamlight, which is synonymous with Streamlight flashlights. Now timing is everything with these taps, so we'll try it the first time and see if we get it, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and on the 10th time hold, it shuts off, letting you know that it switched modes. Now, if we double tap it, it won't go into strobe mode. It'll just say, oh, you just wanted it on. Cool. The more you know. Versus mode. All right, so this is where we're going to compare the HL to the HLX. This is mostly for holster compatibility. That's why I want to see if these are any different or what the differences are. So first we'll start with the head, because that is a big thing you want to look for in holster compatibility between two lights. And I can tell you that the diameter of this head is exactly the same. Did notice that the emitters were a little different. So the HL has a frosted tip, we'll say, or just a frosted covering over the emitter itself, which I found interesting, whereas the HLX does not. So that's probably why you're getting a little bit more performance out of this one. Obviously there's a difference in switches from the old one to the new one, but as far as the length, exactly the same. The 1913 adapters that we have on here for the rails, they are a little different as far as how they look, but as far as where the bar is, it's exactly in the same spot, so you're not going to have your light be any further or closer to you when mounting it on whatever gun you're mounting it on, which is nice. The way that these both work is a little bit different as far as how they secure to the 1913 adapter. On the old one, you had a special piece of hardware here that went through your adapter, and that just kind of like screwed into the body of it on the other side. This one, because you have the button and the lever there, the hardware that mounts it is actually what's going through this adapter into the other side. This one is completely flat. You don't need as much space here because this is where the door hinges back here. Whereas this one, the door hinges up here, so you need a little bit more room to thread in these screws, and you just have this bump out on the side here. Whereas this one, yeah, there is a cutout here for this lever, but it does stick out further than anything that would be sticking out on the side over here. Holster compatibility! M&P optics ready, full size, nothing in the gun, completely empty. For all you YouTube moderators out there, HL version of the TLR-1. As you can see, fits really well because it is for this gun and this exact light. Now let's try out the HLX in the Bravo Concealment Torsion 3.0 holster. Video available today. Let's just put it in and see what happens. All right, so we're getting a little bit of hang up right here, and that's where this steps down into the body of the light portion of the holster. All right, so we got it in. Now we'll see if there's any issues coming out. Oh, yep, we definitely have a little snag here, and guess what? It's kind of where I thought it would be. Yep, this lever here for that door. So we're gonna go ahead and use the same method to get it out. Just rip it out, and we'll take a look. So you can see we have plastic shavings on the edge or the end of this lever, and that is where it was getting hung up. Now we're gonna test out this light on this Safariland holster. This Safariland holster was provided to me by Angry Sarge, so if you wanna check him out, awesome dude, awesome content. He's on the YouTubes. He's also on the internet in general and has a merch site if you want to check out his merch. But this Safariland is for a Glock and TLR-1 HL combo. Pro tip, if you want to easily remove these lights, a nickel works really well. Works a lot better than being legal tender, that's for sure. Inflation. Attention YouTube moderators, this is also not able to hurt anyone. This is 100% one solid block of plastic that is shaped like a Glock 17. Can't react the slide, trigger doesn't do anything. There's no way to insert or take out a magazine because there's no hole here. There's one solid piece of plastic. So don't demonetize me. All right, now we're gonna try this in the holster to see how it fits. All right. Yeah, kind of as suspected, it fits really well. There's a little bit more wiggle room typically and these, but you can tell there's not really a whole lot of movement or rattle, which is cool. And yeah, I'm not really seeing any rubbing anywhere in the holster or otherwise. What I'll normally do is I'll rock it in like so, and then push it in. Goes in, comes out. Great success. Give me all your Pokemon cards. Well, I'm pretty bummed, guys, because unfortunately, at this point in the video, I have to give you the bad news that if you have a holster that is molded to and retained by the HL, the HLX will not fit in that holster. And there's two reasons why. First of which is going to be this shoulder here that doesn't exist on the old model. And the second is going to be that lever that doesn't exist on the old model. If you look at the two lights side by side, you can see this light head is longer, the old HL, and then has a 90-degree step down. This one has a shorter head, and the rest of that space before the body is taken up by this big shoulder. What happens when you have that combination and you try to put it into a holster that is for the old light, it stops on that shoulder. The other thing that it could be stopping on is that lever as well. That's the second thing that is going to prevent this from going in. But obviously, this isn't going to work. So you are going to have to, if you have this light, get it specifically made for the HLX, which could be, depending on how many holsters you already have, an exorbitant amount of money to pay in addition to paying extra for this light versus just getting an old HL. What were we talking about again? All right, holster compatibility continued. I'm going to try to extend some grace to Streamlight, give them the benefit of the doubt that when they told me that both these lights were interchangeable with holsters for the most part, they didn't mean actual holsters that are molded to the light itself. They just meant duty holsters. Feel free to count how many times we say the word duty when talking about duty holsters. So this duty holster, one, has a big chasm or cavern or cave of wonders, if you will, for a light, but it doesn't need the light to retain this fake plastic thing that looks like a gun. You click it in here without a light on, it'll still be retained because it's actually being held by the barrel extension technically that is exposed, and it's holding on to this cutout in the slide if this were an actual slide. The system for this particular duty holster is the ALS system, so if I move this lever, it moves in and out of the way. It allows you to slide it in, but then it moves out of the way, clicks into place, and then the only way that someone can pull this out, if you're like, let's say, a beat cop and someone's trying to take your gun from you, is if they know to press this little lever here to pull it out. Now, with various levels of retention for Safariland, there's more things that you have to defeat, but this is the most basic. And other duty holsters, I think that's 2 so far, have different mechanisms that you may or may not have to defeat that work different ways. But essentially the concept is very similar or the same, where just a big opening for the light. There's probably multiple lights from different brands that'll fit in it, and it's not actually being retained by the light, which is why it will fit for some duty holsters. Beam comparisons. When we compared the HL to the HLX, the close-up distances were really telling, and you'll see this better when it's zoomed out a little bit. But you can see that both the HL and HLX are doing pretty well, except for flood is a lot better with the HLX. Long distance, actually the HL and the HLX are pretty similar. I think actually the Sierra 123As in the HL are doing better with Candela than the HLX, even with the SLB9s, which is kind of interesting. Just looking at the HL, you can see that it's doing a really good job. It's still 1,000 lumens and I think over 20,000 Candela with the old model, but there just isn't that flood around the hotspot. Anywhere that hotspot is, it does really well. You can see really well, and it does a pretty good job of punching out to further distances because technically the Candela is slightly better in this older model than the newer HLX. But when we get closer in, that's where you can really tell the only spot that's being illuminated is that hot spot. Everything else around it doesn't really show up. Now the HLX is illuminating a lot more than just where that hot spot is. You can see when we go left to right how much bigger that spill is on the HLX. And I think that has a lot to do with, one, that emitter not being frosted over in that one spot, but also the fact that it's 1500 lumens versus 1000 lumens. And this one still, even with slightly less candela, does a really good job of punching out to distances. The price. Is it worth it? Is it? Allow me to give you some numbers here. The MSRP of this light is $250 with a street price of about $200. That's still a $100 increase over its older brother here. Not only is that quite a bump, but it also pushes the HLX into the cloud and almost surefire territory. The pre-order cloud EPL is $270, and the Surefire X300 Turbo is an insane $380. Between the three, Streamlight has always been the most affordable, but the difference in price is shrinking. So you have to ask yourself, what do you want? Do you want a lumen-centric or a candela-centric light? If lumens are what you're after, the HLX wins 1500 versus the Cloud's 1200 and the Surefire's 650. However, if you want candela for a $20 MSRP increase, you could get 32,000 more of them with the EPL, or slightly more than the EPL for way more money going with the Surefire. For me, as this is a pistol light, I'd rather have more lumens and spill for closer distances if I have to choose between lumens or candela and stay within a budget. You can always get both, but not for free. It'll cost you. A fourth pricing option has entered the chat, and that is the TLR-1 HL. If you want to save money, this is going to be $100 cheaper than the least expensive option, which would have been the HLX. And it's a great light still. It's still 1000 lumens. It's actually 22,000 candela, which is actually 2,000 candela more than the new light, which is kind of weird. And if you don't mind having these type of switches as opposed to the pushy and, same on both sides switches, then this is gonna work really well for you. Where this isn't gonna work really well is if you're a left-handed shooter, because for me, as a right-handed shooter, I can take my support hand and roll my thumb up and click this on as I'm getting into my grip. You can't do that if you're a left-handed person. You would go to roll your thumb up and then it'd be momentary and then it would be off by the time you get into your grip. So if you are a lefty, probably you're still gonna wanna spend the extra money on this. But if you are a righty, and you want to save some money, this is probably going to be a pretty good option as long as you're okay with taking it off to replace the batteries. Holster compatibility is obviously still going to be there, and it's just less expensive. Final thoughts. Here in Final Thoughts, we take the pros and the cons, add them together, and see what they equal. My answer might be different from yours, and that's okay. I keep coming back to it because it's important. Holster compatibility. When you're pushing this in, it's not going to go in as far if it's just going around the head. And you might have part of the gun sticking out more than it would be if you were using the other light. The other thing that it might do is if you have that positive click when it gets to that 90-degree shoulder for the holster, it's not going to click into place. It's not going to have as positive of retention because, again, this dang shoulder is mucking up the works. The answers might be different for you and I if you don't have any HLs at all. You're just like, hey, I want to get a light for my handgun. I'm going to get holsters for it after I get the light and gun combo put together. And I'll just tell them I have the HLX. Cool. This is a non-issue for you. Now this is the part of the video where I'm going to give Streamlight some free ideas. So Streamlight, if you're watching this, this is the part where you really pay attention. Streamlight. Do you know how with the TLR-8s and TLR-7s, you're able to just twist off the head of the flashlight to put the battery in? I want to give you an idea for free, no charge, that would allow you to do that with this. Now you're probably saying to yourself, but there's two batteries side by side. How could that possibly happen? Well, let me show you something here. Let me tell you something. You see this portion right here, we have the circuitry and the connections for these two batteries. Let's just take this part off, right? We'll just take this whole thing off. And if we flip it over where it's like positioned this way, On the other side, we have one connection. So it's basically like an adapter that's these two connections to one connection that would connect to this light once it's screwed on, or this light head once it's screwed on. What you'd have to do is you would have to just have that piece right there, have it be in here as an insert. So then what would happen is, if you wanted to change out your batteries, you would unscrew the head, then you take off that adapter plate thing, set it aside or put it in your pocket or whatever, take new batteries, put them in, put that plate back on, and then screw it back on. That way you could still have a side-by-side battery, you could still have the same body, shape, and size as the TLR-1 HL. You could have a twist design so you wouldn't need all of that extra room for that shoulder, for the hinge, all that stuff. And it would be fitting 100% of the TLR-1 HL holsters. So there you go, free idea. Maybe in version 2.0 of this, you could do that, and then we wouldn't have to worry about, and I wouldn't have to talk about all the holster compatibility stuff. You're welcome. All right, I've been telling you guys a lot about how I feel about this, but what do you guys think? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below on this light. Do you think it's a home run? Do you think Streamlight needs to go back to the drawing board and do some more work on it? Would you buy this if you already have the HL to replace it? Let me know in that comment section. And while you're there, don't forget, I take those prayer requests. And if you do want to help support the channel, yourfavoritelibertarian.com for all the links and discount codes to save money on super cool stuff. I think that's everything. Yeah, we're just going to wrap it up here. So as always, thanks for watching. Stay free. And God bless.